Money's a dichotomy. When you don't have any money, and you really, really don't, and you're struggling, there's freedom. Because when you have nothing, you're like, I need to fight to find no matter what to make it work. When you have an enormous amount of resources, your fight becomes very different. When I would come to New York, because we were living in London at the time, this extraordinary, exceptional world of such elegant, beautiful, entrepreneurial, amazing women who were a force. Truly a force. Terrifying, amazing, brilliant, and a force.
When I look at New York and I see the trading and everything around me, like I think of Cornelius Vanderbilt, what he had done, like you were in his imagination up until all the way from there. So that's why it's like you never die. Your legacy always lives on. That's him still living on where you're standing in 2026. Welcome to the Rabasha Family Podcast. I have a very, very special guest in the building. I have Consuelo Vanderbilt Costin. And she's a seventh generation descendant of shipping and railroad tycoon Cornelius Vanderbilt. So, Consuelo, you have been an amazing visionary. Be able to see the vision that you've had for the Vanderbilt name. An American singer, composer, songwriter, designer, actress, philanthropist, and entrepreneur. At a very young age, you studied with famous siblings and teachers such as Ron Anderson and Seth Riggs, and you went to Italy and studied music in Fiesole and began performing in cafes and restaurants around Florence. At the age of 21, you signed your first record deal in London after many years of touring around the globe in regions, Germany, France, Australia, launching your own record label and finding yourself in the top 20 Billboard dance charts with the top 10 hit singles, and being your debut single, Naked, 16 weeks on the charts. And to further your entrepreneurial spirit, you released a jewelry collection inspired by the Vanderbilt family heirlooms, your vision, the power, and to be able to take the Vanderbilt name across generations. It's an honor to be here with you. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
And thank you for doing your research. I always appreciate a journalist who takes the time to really know. It means a lot to me. So thank you very much. And my last single was actually number 5 in the US, which is amazing. It was just like, how is this possible? And touring in Germany became a very big market for me, and I love them.
Marketing is all about storytelling. Dad, when we first started this business, what did you say to me?
I said, yes, we do a podcast.
Why?
Because I want to tell our story.
Why?
Because I know the story builds a legacy.
Builds a legacy. And that is exactly what we do here at ETS Rabasha Media. We market your story on social media so you could build a legacy for those who come after you, to build your business and your personal brand.
Yeah, follow us on our platform. Go on our website, etsrabashamedia.com.
This is about legacy, and it is about showing up on social media every single day, because if you don't show up, your competition will.
And that's the beautiful thing about music. You never know who you're going to respond to, or who's going to respond to you. If it's one person, if it's 5 people, it's like, what a gift. And I think that that's just, the one thing about music that you just never know, where you respond, how people resonate to you, what stories resonate. And what I love about the Germans, and I was on a very, very old, probably one of the oldest German Berlin shows. And he said to me, Consuelo, the thing about what we do, because English is our second language, we study music. We study lyrics. We study the stories, the melodies. We study all of it. So we actually know your songs better than you do. I love that, because I do. I completely understand. If they're learning it from a second language and they're interpreting it in their own way, it's their own journey. So anyway, it's I love Germany. Germany was a wonderful market, and I'm very grateful. And it was the greatest gift of my life to be able to do what I love. Truly.
I can see it in your face. And so can you talk to us a little bit about growing up? What did it like growing up as a Vanderbilt? Can you give us a little bit of early memories of what was life like? What did you observe? What did you see things around you that even till you had the dedication and the obsession at such a young age to go and conquer like you did, for example, at 21 and doing what you did? What were some of the seeds and tools that you saw in your environment that led you to not just be comfortable and, oh, I'm a Vanderbilt and I'm good? No, but you had your own mission and vision. What came out of that?
I lived in a beautiful dichotomy, whereby the world that my mother came from and how she was raised. My mother was also a beautiful force and a very independent spirit, looking for her own journey. And the life that I led was living in between multiple worlds. So I had the opportunity to be able to see, from my grandmother to my great-grandmother to my aunts and to my cousins, when I would come to New York, because we were living in London at the time, this extraordinary, exceptional world of such elegant, beautiful, entrepreneurial, amazing women who were a force, truly a force, terrifying, amazing, brilliant, and a force. And then I would go back to London, and I was in school and I was a gymnast and I was the very odd bird, little strange American who was on a diet, and I was the most muscular child, 4'6", and everyone was these beautiful, long, lean, amazing gymnasts, and I was this stocky American, and I was on a diet literally every day and eating microbiotic food, which no one wanted to be around me because it was the stinkiest food you've ever smelled in your life. But no offense to macrobiotic food, but at 6.5 years old, that's a really hard thing to do. And so I would float in between worlds. And I believe that the true essence of how I have become the person that I am is because it was never one way. I never lived a life where it was like, I'm just going to be a debutante. I'm just going to go to this. I'm just going to live this. This is how, not at all. My life was, I'm 6.5, 7, and I'm training, and I'm at my coach's house every day, and I am in training 6 days a week, and I'm training to be on the Olympics, and I'm in Paris with Olympic coaches, and then I would go to New York. Like, my world as an athlete in another way became something very, very different, and I would go to these beautiful schools that I love. Glendower was one of my favorite schools on the planet. But again, I was always a wee bit of an oddcast. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was definitely kind of the odd bird American. And yet I loved what I did. And I loved gymnastics. And then the day that I would look up at the bleachers and I'm like, are people looking down? That's what I need to know. Because if I don't know that they're looking down, then this isn't really what I want to be doing, because I love performing and I love acting. And so again, when people ask me this question, it's constantly like, kind of in a very strange way, at a very young age, paved my own way of navigating between multiple worlds. And I'm really grateful for that, because that's kind of what's defined me and made me of today.
Yeah, those situations, like you said, you didn't want to be the person who's in a box. You want to be able to do everything and anything because you have a wild imagination.
I do. Or crazy. I mean, listen, one could say she's insane, really. She thinks, I'm meant to be doing double, triple backflips. And I'm like looking at the bleachers going, is anyone looking down? And they're like, this is not going to be good. And to me, I'm just a precocious, fun, I love performing. So I was like, well, I mean, come on, I should be singing. I should be dancing. I should be so yeah.
And for the people who don't know, can you talk a little bit about the Vanderbilt name? Like, where did it originate from? Who was the outlier in the family that led it? And, and kind of also, what are your duties as you go on and you've just had such an amazing career? Yeah, for the people who don't know.
So Cornelius, I'm a seventh generation to Cornelius. I'm seventh generation. Cornelius began what we kind of define as the Industrial Revolution, because he understood at a very, very young age about not only transportation, shipping, and trading. So especially during that time, to be able to be a pioneer and to really understand that. So he asked his mother for $100, which $100 then to $100 today, but still minimal amounts. But he knew, and he knew at 16, and he said very clearly, if I went to school, I would not have enough time to do everything else. And then built Vanderbilt University. It's the greatest thing. It's my greatest quote. It's my favorite quote. I love him for this. I love that he's like this. I love all about it. So he really did. He was such an entrepreneur because he really would look at a map and the grid of the trading around Hudson, like Hudson River, and where he could and that's what he did. And so he really understood about that. And when I look back, again, obviously I wasn't born then, but I just think how extraordinary, how exceptional that this man knew and was such a visionary that he could truly pioneer this empire of trading. So again, when we go from shipping to trains to transportation, that's why we call them the Industrial Revolution. I am so inspired when I walk down the halls of Grand Central. Literally, I take a breath. I have to take a breath as an adult, and I said, it's amazing. I am so proud that I come from this family, and what a gift. What a gift of being an extraordinary entrepreneur. When we look at the American dream, and I talk about this a lot with young kids, it doesn't matter what it may look like, but the perception of it should be like this to have the American dream, or you have to be like this, go to this college, or this. No. There is a spirit, I believe, as an entrepreneur and as a visionary, when you can define your life, your beliefs, and making it actually your reality. And I actually spoke last week about this. I don't ever believe a no is a no, a no is a yes, always. I stand behind that forever. And I also stand behind that mentorship can change the trajectory of a child's life when you find the person who's doing the thing that you love, and you can watch as a child and say, my God, I want to be just like that. How do I do this? So I teach a lot about eye contact. I teach a lot about the human sensibilities that make you connect, to build and create the opportunities to make you the best of yourself.
Wow. So he had an imagination to go in and connect all those things together, the shipping, the trading. And so the majority of his time was spent doing that. And then he created the Vanderbilt University.
He did so many different things, but that was one of them. And what I love about that is just the complete dichotomy between saying, no about education. Yes, build this. Just like the YMCA and, and I understand that because he had the ability to be able to do that. And he just exceptional entrepreneur, exceptional visionary. And my great-great-grandfather, William Kissam, even, took what Cornelius's vision into a whole other stratosphere. So Cornelius built what was called the Vanderbilt Grand Central Depot. That was before Grand Central. And then it evolved into becoming Grand Central. He took amazing pride into his engineers and his people. There was a heart and a soul and a pulse behind that man that people don't know about. These are all the stories that I love to be able to uncover and to be able to tell that people don't know about. He just was absolutely amazing. And I really talk about this a lot. Behind every great man of the decade, the amazing women. Gertrude Vanderbilt, who started the Whitney. Did you know that? Consuelo Vanderbilt, the Duchess of Marlborough, my great-great-aunt, was one of the leading women in the suffragettes. Like, the women were so unbelievably powerful that stood behind the empire of these men. And it's like, I want to show them rise exactly to where they are, because that is so important for the youth of today and for the next gen of what the Vanderbilt legacy is.
Wow. It's really the essence of the masculine and feminine, the masculine having that ability to go and conquer, but then the feminine having the nurturing, the vision, the intuition to be able to help him also take it to the next level as well. So you said after Cornelius, it was William. So what did William do?
So he had multiple children, and his second child passed away sadly. And then the third child, William Kissam, who was my great-great-great-grandfather, he became the richest man in the world. He was the underdog. He was the person where everyone's like, no, never going to be him. That's what I love about underdogs. I'm the underdog. I love the underdogs. I root for the underdogs, the voice of the voiceless. That's my entire mission in life. And he built one of the greatest ships called the Alva. It was one of the largest ships that he donated to the Navy during World War II. He was just amazing. And my family, so we have this beautiful place called the Vanderbilt Museum, which anytime you're in New York, would love to invite you to come. And he was an extraordinary, so this is the grandson, so this would be my great-great-grandfather. And he was an extraordinary voyager and would literally travel the world and create artifacts you can't even imagine. Like there's mummies there. There are fish you can't even imagine that you would even believe that they were there. And not only it just by him being such a voyager, he would discover just not only medically, just the healing of where he would find around the world to be able to help and to aid. He was exceptional, truly. As I said, he became the richest man in the world. And people just don't understand that because a lot of the family offices that I speak about, they say, well, legacy and wealth dies in second and third generation, especially third. We stop. And I said, but do we? But do we really stop? Because you have to understand like who and where and how. So I come from a very, very private family, a dichotomy between you talk about it, you don't talk about it, you talk about it. But in all of that, the people behind the muscle behind it understood about generational wealth, understood about legacy, and they aligned with themselves, with banking institutions in order to make sure and to ensure that. So I say, what are the Vanderbilts now of today? What can we do? And the things that we've invested in a lot is in technology, building, growing, AI components, which I think is obviously huge, robotics. And my mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer at 50. I took care of my mother for 4.5 years and she died at 55. And it was one of the greatest gifts of my whole life. I became the legislative ambassador of the American Cancer Society. I became the vice president of the Ovarian Cancer Coalition. I would travel to Washington and I would lobby for money. And for the first time in my whole life, to feel like, and I'm absolutely not political by any means, but to feel like I had a voice to be able to create change, a voice to be able to say, how do we learn and how do we adopt the language that we're using, i.e. into breast cancer and everything else? How do we facilitate and create funds over here? So in that, it just gave me this amazing impetus to say, where's philanthropic initiatives in my heart and where can I bridge now into the building of House of Vanderbilt and to the next gen to actually make a difference so that every single thing that we do and every single thing we invest into, that there's a philanthropic initiative that falls behind it. That's very, very important to me.
I think this conversation is so valuable, and I can't wait for this after because it's very valuable for the entrepreneurs and the young generation today to understand the value of family legacy and just creating things in general, but also for a lot of our audience on the family office side to be able to get this advice and exactly what we talked about beyond the third generation. So let's go back to this story. So we have, William's son, the underdog, he goes out and becomes the richest. So so that William does it. So who was after that William who became the richest?
So you have multiple children that were all buried, I'm telling you, in Staten Island, in the mausoleum. It's become the New York monument that Cornelius and his wives and children all are buried inside this mausoleum. It's amazing. And then you have the entire Staten Island and where Gloria, my grandmother, everyone else is buried. But for Cornelius, children, wives, they're all buried inside this mausoleum. And I was invited. I really thought this was a joke. I thought that someone was like, this can't be serious. Someone sent me a message and said, Consuelo, we want to invite you to the unveiling of Cornelius's museum, like his mausoleum in Staten Island. And it's going to be your living and dead relatives. And I'm like this. And they said, and it's a fancy dress party. And I go, come on, you can't write this. This is insane. If I don't go, just to see what this is in my family. So I arrive, and I'm not joking. It was 150 of my family members who were dead and alive. It was fantastic. It was the most amazing thing you've ever seen in your life. It was incredible. This happened a few years ago.
Wow. It's really, when we talk about legacy, I think things like this are very important. So how does it work now? One thing I really want to ask you, exactly what you said earlier, usually families by that third generation, it kind of dies. What are the mistakes that family offices make when it comes to the longevity of a family name? And what did the Vanderbilts do so well to go way past the third generation and to continue that upon generations? So those are two interesting questions. What do the family offices, the ones that you just said there, what do most people get wrong when it comes to going past that third generation? And what did you guys
So
do well?
I could never speak to that because I would just say to you, it's so broad, and every family has their own journey and how they do it and what they've invested in and what their principles are and what their ecosystem and ethos are, right? I would never be able to speak to that. I can only speak personally. From what I know and what I've seen, what my family did. So my grandfather's side, my grandmother had 5 marriages. She had 3 arranged marriages, as one does. And her first was to a gentleman who I loved. His grandfather was amazing. His name was Herbert Pratt Van Engen. So this is the Pratt side. And we have a family office on that side, which is so beautiful. It's so well orchestrated and so well run, and it's just amazing. But I will tell you, the financial institutions that have brokered and have invested for my family and the trust for generations to come have been very smart. And they pulled in trustees inside of it in order to ensure that. And where I come in now is I look at 27 institutions from Fisher Island, Biltmore, Blenheim, Grand Central, right? All these amazing, amazing buildings. And I say really institutions because they are Vanderbilt University. But many people do not understand the tie-in. History, history repeats itself. But if history is not told, and history doesn't know, I've been in multiple history lessons where people don't know. So I said, what would a world be? And I did a documentary on the BBC. And I was doing this behind the scenes in Grand Central. And then I was doing this at the Vanderbilt Museum, where, as I said, I sit on the board. What would a world be if the connective tissue of all of my family, we actually came together and united for the same ethos, the same type of infrastructure where we've invested an enormous amount in technology, we build into more AI and robotics in healthcare, and that each one of these institutions, the stories and the entirety of it all, of the history, gets told. So it's all celebrated. And that's where House of Vanderbilt really, truly was born. I'm like, this can be the world and the breath of the next generation of who the Vanderbilts are. And if we look at a world, as I said, that's always been very private, a royal family that's basically sat and watched and observed in a way, our next generation needs to be in the forefront of philanthropic initiatives where we can be pioneering things that are so powerful and so impactful to the world that the next gen gets the opportunity to carry on. So seventh generation, you would never say seventh generation anymore. You would never stop at, say, a third and say that. You would say no, because they did it right, because they understood legacy wealth. And that's where I want my family to be. It's very important to me.
So it's them understanding the legacy in world, understanding the people who came before them and what was done in order to continue that vision.
And so our ethos. So if we look at Rockefeller, and that's 1% of Rockefellers that are sort of part of it, as an example. If we can build truly the ethos of my family and the foundations of these 27 institutions and really bridge them, because they feel supported, they feel understood, we feel like we're making a difference, that's a very powerful conversation.
And so when it comes to investments, let me ask you, how does that get done? I guess this is a lot of for the people on the family office side. You mentioned a little bit of them, investing in AI and things like that. So are those investing in businesses as well? And how do those deals come to you? And are you the one who decides on what to invest in for the family? How long is the cycle it takes for you to see a deal to say, boom, let's do it? What's that process like?
These are brilliant questions. So again, we just launched. So we've been investing a lot into technology, and I built my company, SohoMuse. So that's been, it's a massive undertaking. And so I've been in this world for a long time, and so I know it very well. And so then introducing the AI components, we have a fashion accelerator that we're building. We have a whole media component inside of the company. They're sitting different companies that will sit within the House of Vanderbilt. So the time frame on this, I would say, is right now building the story around in order to create the connective tissue with my whole family, the most important thing. And then number two, being able to, after that, once the whole media component is there, then we're drawing into these very specific factors and then figuring out which family members are coming into it, where we're looking at, what strategic partners what we're looking at, what investments we're looking at. And as I did an interview yesterday, philanthropic initiatives that we can back behind every single investment that we make. That is going to take us into a pioneering into a different level than I believe any family office has been able to do, because I say there's so many people that need help. There's so many people that need a voice. Let us look at everything. We don't need to be one. Why do we need to be one? Why can't we help many different organizations that need help and help to create initiatives?
Wow, and I can see the passion that you have. So is that also a point that you guys are also seeking outside investors as well, or is it you guys have your capital?
Currently, right now, no, we're not needing that. That's because it's a single family office. We don't need to do that. But again, we have outside companies, just like SohoMuse is an outside company, right? That I can sit under the umbrella of House of Vanderbilt, but it's not inside of the family office. The family office is a single family office. So no, we're not doing that. But we have separate entities that sit under the umbrella.
And within the single family office, what's the vision for there when it comes to investments and deals?
Absolutely. As I said, through technology, through AI, robotics, and healthcare. I think healthcare, again, my mother, passing away at 55 and being her health proxy, which was such an honor. I have a great passion for innovation and speaking with scientists and work in my family on a multitude of different sides. Work and invest and help. And that will be a big part, because I think that every decade creates a whole new generation. And so that will be a big part of the initiatives that we'll move forward with. Definitely.
So let's say you see a fantastic healthcare business that has all the right elements to solve huge problems. And let's say you guys want to invest in that. How long does that take for you guys as a team, as a family office, to be able to invest and allocate the capital there?
As you can see, we just launched.
Yeah.
So I would never, one of the greatest things you'll ever know about me as a person, that I can never not say the truth. I can never make it up or say anything. I can only just say to you, we're just beginning. So I would never want to say to you, oh yes, we'll be investing in the next week. No, absolutely not. There's a lot of due diligence and there's 1,000 other things that will go down the pipeline in order to get us to that position. But it's in the roadmap of everything that we want to do. That's the most honest thing I can say. Because it's the same way as I've gone out and looked for investment, right? Even though the world goes, she needs investment. Well, I look at them and I say, do you think Cornelius would have invested all of his money? Saying, that's right. So I know, it makes you go like, I don't think so. So same thing back here, being smart, looking at the right investments, the right strategic partners, the right growth life plan for what House of Vanderbilt is going to be, to take us into the 21st century, to be making a difference and to giving opportunities. Because again, my world started out as an artist. My world is giving jobs to creatives that don't get the opportunity. That's how I've always looked at life. Again, it's kind of the giving and bringing a voice to the voiceless. That's what I am.
And with the vision of you doing that, the vision of where you're taking this family legacy to, who would be a fantastic strategic partner for you?
Thousands. Are you kidding me? I get approached every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. All across the board. There are 1,000 different things, from areas in AI that are so advanced and doing things, whether it's even in our fashion accelerator, we're seeing AI products that are coming onto the runway, or I can help designers to really build up their entire infrastructure of everything that they're doing. To healthcare and talking to scientists, where what are we looking at cancer and how am I enabling that and how am I having? I mean, there's so many different worlds that I'm like, I want to be there. I want to be your platform to take you exactly where you want to be.
And what is your imagination see for the next 10 years? What's Consuelo doing 10 years from now?
Really? If I can bring and bridge my family and my family's history to today, where that you're sitting in a history class and you're like, of course I know about Gertrude Vanderbilt. Of course I know about Consuelo. Can you believe that William Kissin did that? Can you believe that there's a mummy there? Can you believe I traveled there? Wait, I went there. I saw that. Wait, and they're doing that. Then I did the right thing.
Yeah.
Because it
Wow.
would, I know this. I knew moving back to New York and kind of, I would say being an adult really in New York, right? I realized what an amazing opportunity that I have. This is an incredible gift. I love history. I've always loved history. But why can't I share that with you through my eyes? Like we're seeing it together, you know? This is amazing. Why should it be forgotten? And why can't we evolve? So the next elevation of truly being that American dynasty, and I want to be able to leave that. I want to be able to leave that for the next gen. Whether it's today, whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years, we can never predict our life, right? But if I could at least make a start, that's a great thing.
And I think you said it earlier that also kind of gave me goosebumps. You said, you know, when I look at New York and I see like the trading and everything around me, like I think of, you know, Cornelius Vanderbilt, what he had done. Like you were in his imagination up until all the way from there. So that's why it's like you never die. Your legacy always lives on. That's him still living on where you're standing in 2026. When you're looking at your surroundings, that's your grandfather within that energy. That spirit is still there and it's living through you now, clearly, because you're now taking things to a whole new level. So I think
I,
exactly what
I,
you just said
I
there.
stood at his statue and I hugged him. I'm like, yes. I
Mm.
mean, he's a little bit cold, as you can imagine.
Mhm.
But yeah, I do. I really feel that way. I do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna play a game before we leave here because
Oh
you're.
God, games! I love games. You didn't tell me this. Come on. What games am I playing? Oh no.
So the game is I will tell you a word and
Okay.
whatever comes to your mind, the first thing that comes to mind, you say it and then I can get you to explain. Okay. CEO.
You have the ability to, you're navigating a company and your word, your vision is what people are responding to. This is not a control thing. When I say power, it's a really being a visionary, and the greatest vision, I believe, and the greatest visionaries, the greatest leaders are the leaders who understand you don't bringing in the best people to build in the best companies, because no one knows everything. There are far brighter people than you, far more experienced people than you. But a CEO knows truly how to identify talent and makes a powerful unity and makes people feel powerful. That's why I use that word.
I love it. Very powerful response. Resilience.
Fearless, being a fighter. You're a boxer. Never stop, no matter what. I talk to kids. No is not a no. No is a yes. You hold. Never be afraid. And it's a very hard thing. Don't get me wrong. We can all be afraid. And anyone who says they're not afraid, God bless you. Please stand in front of me and show me how, because I'm afraid. So I would love to learn a person who's not fearful of anything. Resilience is being that boxer, being that fighter. You get and I love boxing. You get through your 3.5 rounds no matter what. And then you breathe and you fight through it again. But in that breathing, where you may have those moments of doubt, it's always like you can look at life in so many different ways. And you could say to yourself, you know what, I'm a person that's in the worst of times, people are going to see you actually at the best of yourself. Because truly, that is who you are. When we're at our best, you can be anything. When you're at your worst and when you're really struggling, that's when you truly identify and you find yourself. That to me is resilience, fighting through it.
I love it. Underdog.
It's my favorite word on the planet. Everything that's unimaginable. I want to be told, yeah, right, no. There's no way. Sorry. Watch me. This is my favorite words. That's why I turned a no into a yes. I had an entire student body 3 days ago where that is my motto. Don't ever let anyone tell you a no. Your no is your yes. That is your fight. Because people get told no all the time. But if you understand what it means, it's their no. They may think that you don't have the capability or that you don't have the resources or you can't. You turn your no into a yes if that's what you want. I'll never forget Everyone said to me, and my single was number 5 in the US and I was touring worldwide, and like, you never want to build your tech company. You're going to hate this. Like, you're a touring artist. You tour around the world. Why would you want to build a tech company? Why would you want to do this? And I said, because I know that the people need jobs. I know that there is an important mission behind this about packaging and creating talent that don't have the opportunities to be seen. I know it. Yeah, but what do you know about building technology? And what do you know about building a business? What do you know about? I will figure it out. That's what I know.
Money.
Money's a dichotomy. When you don't have any money, and you really, really don't, and you're struggling, there's freedom. Because when you have nothing, you're like, I need to fight to find no matter what to make it work. When you have an enormous amount of resources, your fight becomes very different. Your plight becomes different. The way you access and how you access and how you operate in the world is very different. But money is survival, right? For just how do we operate day to day. It's what you do with money and how you are with it. And again, I think that those two, wherever you are, it's where you're sitting inside of the money conversation. The one thing that I do know, if money holds you, which is very hard for it not to, you don't know how to produce. Like, I know amazing people who just don't know how to not make money. It's insane. You just look at them, you're like, how do you do it? You just literally, it's like a freedom for them. They just know how to make money. There are other people that hold so tightly. They're like, well, that $1, that $2, oh my God, if I don't hold on to it, it's good, right? Those people are terrified to lose. It's very hard for them to generate. When you have freedom around whatever it is that you're holding on to, you can make anything happen, right? When you're fearful and you're terrified, and I'm not saying it's not where your circumstance and where you're from and how your lifestyle is or anything else. It's not about that. It's just the people that just are so resourceful. They're like, well, I know. I mean, I'll never forget. I was speaking to someone like 2 weeks ago. He goes, look, I take this amount of money and I know how to change it into this amount of money and I do it like this and blah, 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 blah. And I'm looking at him going, what? How did you just, in 3 seconds, no issue, total freedom about money. Whereas other people are like, so I think it's really where you hold, where you know, it's like anything when you're in a relationship, right? And you holding so tight and you want it so badly, you want to make it work, whether you suffocate us or you don't, right? These are the things where we work on in life, right? Whatever it is that we hold so tightly are the areas that we often have to work at, that we don't have as, right? And I use that word freedom because really it is that. So, yeah.
So you said when you have the freedom around it, it allows you to generate more of it.
100%. And that's in anything. This is not about money. I'm talking about anything. When you're totally in freedom in a relationship, as an example, whatever that may be, friendship or relationship, and you're not controlled by it, and you can just live through it, it's like water in a way, right? You're not afraid. I'm not afraid that my girlfriend's going to go out tonight and then she's going to go do something, because I trust enough in this, right? You have total freedom. The relationship flows. If I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I think she's going to go and she's going to do this, and I think, now I'm completely attached to it. Same thing with money. If I think I'm never going to be, this is the last job I'm ever going to have. Oh my God, whereas if I can live in a place where, like, I'm really great at what I do, I'm going to be able to generate more, I'm going to find other possibilities, I'm going to do everything I can to advocate for that. You have freedom in it, you know? And again, these are very hard places to get to. And I'm not saying I'm there. Opinions are like, but it's a great thing to know, right? It's great advice if you can hold it.
Absolutely fantastic advice. I think even just for me personally, like, yeah, just for myself. So I'm like, guys, I hope you guys are really taking what you just said there, because you just gave people keys that if they really understood what you said, everything you just said, there is freedom regardless. Freedom is not external, it's internal. Even if you don't have money right now, if you can get into the mindset that I already have freedom and I already have abundance from nothing, what you're saying is, and it's true, it's going to generate, it's going to come, because you're not stressed, you're not tense about it, even with nothing. I love what you said. It's powerful. Very, 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 very. I just wanted to sit in that. So maybe you had another gem, but I wanted to sit in that because that was powerful. I really want to thank you so much for your time. This is really awesome. And there's just so many places. I could talk to you for 2 more hours. I'm sure you could tell. And there's so many other places we could take it. But I think just this digestible. We're about to reach 50 minutes. This is about 50 minutes that people can listen on their way to work, on, whatever they're doing. A lot of the family offices that we have in our audience, a lot of the CEOs on the other side, really sitting in between both of those audiences. This was really powerful. And is there any last thing that you want to leave? Like, what are you up to these days? What does a life look like in Consuelo? You wake up in the morning. What does your day look like? I'm sure a lot of people will wonder that. And I could see your phone just pinging, 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 pinging. You're busy, so even the time that you've given is appreciated. But yeah, what does a day look like in Consuelo's life?
So I have a very special little person. I love Lucy. She is the baby of life. She's my little love. I meditate every day. I'm up probably around 5:30 a day. I would say specific, conscious of my day, because I do so many different things in order to kind of build and create everything that I'm doing. I have extraordinary teams, so it's different times during the day where I'm meeting with different teams and how I'm doing it. Try to work out to make sure I'm usually disciplined on 5 days a week, so that really gets in my head. I do like the 5 a.m. hour, so that you're in your game and you're the best of yourself. I read an enormous amount about staying focused, really the things that when I have doubt, how to stay very centered, how to be a great leader, how to be a great person, how to 1,000 things. So my day really consists of a lot of that. And at the end of the day, the only thing that I know is when I go to sleep at night, I have to look at myself in the mirror. Did I do everything right now that I would be honorable? My mom is my compass. That's really my life. That's what I have. I don't ever look like I'm there or I've reached there no, because I constantly think I'm learning. It's like I just am evolving. It's like, okay, well, that's the next iteration, or that's the next chapter, that's the next. And I know when I sleep at night, I feel really good. Like I did really great today. There was a lot that happened. That's a great day.
The day in the life of Consuelo Vanderbilt. Well,
yeah, it may be more interesting. People are like, is that it? That's how you feel? Well, yeah, that's it. That's me.
Well, I love it, especially the 5 a.m. wake up. I definitely know what you're talking about there. But yes, thank you so much for your time today. That was really amazing.
Thank you so much.
And I can't wait for the future and what the future holds.
Me too. Okay. I can't wait. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for your beautiful questions. Thank you for being so insightful, intuitive. I love the game. That was really fun. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait to speak to you again sometime.
Let's do it. Okay. See you guys.
Thank you so much. Bye now.
Hey, what's wrong? Bro, I'm stressed out. I'm running my business. I've got to serve my customers, but I need more customers coming in. I can't keep relying on word of mouth. Why don't you just use ETS Rabasha Media? Who? Well, with AI now, what they do is they go in, get your perfect clients, bring them in front of you. So all I got to do is run my business and he brings me opportunities. Think about it. You speak to 3,000 of your ideal customers, convert 1% of that 3,000. That's 30 people. 30 people in a room with you. Can you convert that? Of course I'll close them. I'm good at what I do. I just don't have time to be going and looking for my perfect client. Focus on what you love doing and let them bring you customers. When you win, they win, commission, cha-ching. Sujira Rabasha, huh? Yeah, Sujira Rabasha. Go and Google them, man. Come on, take it to the bank.
If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to click here, and I'm sure you're gonna love that one.